It's okay, his eyebrows cushioned his fall.
Hello out there in Internetland. This is episode 2 of season 3 of the F1 Chat. I'm your host, Phil Lamington. Sitting to my left is JB. How are you, JB?
I'm good.
I didn't have anything funny.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're just watching Canada's Worst Driver, so...
They were all the entertainment value we need.
Oh, yeah. And sitting to my right is Longhorn. How are you?
I'm well.
Right. So the abbreviated intro means that we're getting into testing. Testing occurred last week. Now, we're going to discuss testing, but we've got to preface this by saying we know it's testing. We know it's not going to be fully accurate. We're not going to get the full result on what's going on until the checkered flag falls at the end of Bahrain this weekend.
Yeah, we don't know who's sandbagging, who's showing their full cards. We don't know the full extent of it, do we?
No.
Nah, it's just a glorified practice session, really.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting that last episode we were sitting there saying Fox Sports are a bunch of so-and-so's because they won't run testing. And then 2 days later they announced they were running the testing.
Big
They
thanks.
must have heard you and they got onto it quicker.
Big thanks to Foxtel and KO for letting us watch testing for the first time.
Yeah.
Live in Australia. That was good.
Yeah. Except I missed half of it.
Well, it was running at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, no, like Friday night I had to go and play a gig in Airlie Beach.
There wasn't even any crashes. No one crashed.
No,
No.
Piastri had to spin.
Piastri spun, and that was the extent of it.
And it was a couple of breakdowns. I
Yeah.
think George Russell broke down and Bottas broke down.
Yeah.
Yep. Other than that, yeah, there wasn't. No one's car caught on fire.
Yeah.
And all the teams and drivers are sitting there saying, "Oh, testing should be longer." No,
Yeah.
no. You had two
You had
cracks.
9 hours.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
longer. I think it was 4-hour sessions.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
like, what,
lo-
4, 8,
12,
8 times, 8 times
12
3?
hours.
Yeah.
and I mean, last year they had 2 lots of 3-day testing, but they were brand new cars.
Yeah.
They're not brand new anymore.
No,
you know?
that's it.
No.
So
They should know most of their car, but like.
yeah, that's
already,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so we get to day 1. And day 1's classification. So you had Max Verstappen headed the time with a 1:32.837, with Fernando Alonso, who was only 0.29 behind, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon in the Williams. And Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo, George Russell in the Mercedes, Logan Sargent in the other Williams, the Incredible Hulk in the Haas, Valtteri in the Alfa, Nick De Vries in the Alfa Tauri, Felipe Drugovich in the Aston Martin, Yuki Tsunoda in the Alfa Tauri, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, and K-Mag was dead last in the Haas.
Yes, and also Lance Stroll isn't there because he hurt himself
Yeah,
Had a
he's got
biking accident.
in a parking accident.
he's got a wrist and hand injury. So
And a toe as well, doesn't he?
I don't
I
know.
thought it was a toe.
Did he hurt his eyebrows?
They're indestructible.
Yeah, it's the only thing that protected him from dying.
Brain
probably.
damage.
Yeah.
From brain damage. It's okay, his eyebrows cushioned his fall. It's okay, I'm perfectly fine, eh?
They're fiberglass like Ray Martin's toupee. Just pure fiberglass. But there's a bit of a mixed up order on just day 1. Like obviously we were all expecting the Red Bull to be on top.
Yeah.
But
The Aston Martin.
the Aston Martin.
But look at the lap count, too. Max
Yeah.
Verstappen did 157 laps. No one else even got close to cracking triple figures.
Yeah.
Well, everyone else did. If you notice, Sergio didn't race.
Actually, no, Max, did the whole day
So,
himself. Yeah,
Max
Oh, yeah.
did the whole day.
That makes sense. If I did some mathematics, I could figure that out. But
Yeah. But there's a fair gap between Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz. because, I mean, Fernando Alonso is only 0.029, and then Carlos Sainz is 0.416. So there's a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, 4/10.
Yeah.
And then there's a massive gap all the way down to Ocon, Piastri, and Magnussen. But
I'm not 100% sure that gap isn't actually a smaller gap than last year. I think a lot of these cars have actually closed up in terms of overall time.
yeah. But also, don't forget, it is day one of testing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't know, like, just looking at this board, we don't know what they were running, like what they were trying, what tyres they were going with, etc., etc. So it could also answer
Probably just ironing out the kinks on the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to day 2. Wow, that's a lot bigger than the last one. So topping day 2 was Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo. And then Max Verstappen. Jesus. Max Verstappen did a lot of running.
Yeah, he did heaps.
He didn't do any on day 3, though, I believe. He did all of it in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
He did a day and a half, and then Sergio did a day and a half.
Yeah. Fernando Alonso was 3rd in the Aston Martin. Nick de Vries was 4th in the Alfa Tauri. Nico Hulkenberg was 5th in the Haas. Then you get a Ferrari 6th with Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, but there's so many variables, as we say.
That's right. Logan Sargent was 7th. Charles Leclerc was 8th. Oscar Piastri was 9th. Pierre Gasly was 10th. Kevin Magnussen was 11th. Then Ocon, Russell, Perez, Hamilton. Hamilton was very low in the batting order. Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda. I did notice one thing that a lot of the commentators were saying was how comfortable immediately Piastri looked in that car. Like, he just jumped on in and made it go.
The McLaren looks all right this year. I don't think it is. I think when qualifying comes around this weekend, it's not. I don't think they're going to get Q3. They'll be lucky to get Q2. But Piastri did look comfortable, and who looked very comfortable was Lewis Hamilton. And George Russell. That Mercedes looked very smooth over testing, like the complete 180 from last year.
But I'll get to that in a sec, because I did watch Ted Kravitz's rundown of all the teams after day 3, and he said some stuff there. So we get to day 3, and Perez topped the times. Lewis Hamilton, then Valtteri was 3rd, Charles was 4th, Sainz was 5th, Tsunoda was 6th, Kevin Magnussen was 7th, Russell was 8th, Alonso, then Drugovich, Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Piastri, and Nick de Vries. Something that Mike Crack, the team principal at Aston Martin, said was that Drugovich did not put a foot wrong.
Yeah, I've seen that. They said he did everything they would have hoped.
Yeah,
from their a young reserve driver like him. And
it looks like Stroll is not going to be able to run at Bahrain this weekend, which means it looks like it's going to be Drugovich.
Awesome.
Yeah, the rumor came out that it was going to be Sebastian Vettel, which everyone got super excited about, seeing Vettel and Alonso as teammates, but they have come out and said it will be Drugovich.
Yeah. And
interestingly as well, just here, Sergio Perez's testing fastest lap was a 1 minute 30.305. The pole position lap for the Bahrain Grand Prix last year was a 1 minute 30.558 by Charles Leclerc. So in testing, already, Sergio Perez went faster than the pole position time of last year's Bahrain Grand Prix, which raises the question, how much faster do you think this year's cars will be? I think we're going to see some proper fast times this year.
Well, I seen a F1 put up a thing about the speed in which each constructor had made over their last year's testing. Yeah. And everyone was up by a second or two on their last performance.
Yeah.
I think Williams actually even had the most, so they were like 2.6 seconds up or something like that on last year. So I think the cars this year are going to be a few seconds quicker than last year.
They've definitely ironed the kinks out. A lot of the teams that had wrong design philosophies last year seem to have rectified them.
Well,
And a lot of the teams have also copied the Red Bull side pod. So
well, there was something that Ted Kravis noticed about the Alpine is that it's still the car that porpoises.
right,
It's porpoising, and it's porpoising kind of badly.
yep,
And initially, the Mercedes was porpoising, but they've had to raise the ride height again to counter it. So
Apparently, the Alpine have some upgrades coming for this weekend, and when they interviewed Gasly, Alpine and Ocon, they were all pretty confident in the car, despite the porpoising you're talking about. So I wonder if the upgrade coming has something to do with potentially ironing that out, fixing that up, because they
Yeah.
seemed pretty confident going ahead.
I would hazard a guess the upgrade is going to be a floor.
Yeah.
It's going to be the floor package. So
well, here we've got the best times per driver.
yes, and per compound, they used all the compounds, including the testing compound as
Yeah,
well.
the prototype.
The C0 and the C3 prototype.
Well, and it's funny because the C3 is this week's race's soft tyre.
Right.
So,
Lots of C3s up there.
yeah. There's a couple of C2s. De Vries set his fastest time on the prototype,
Yes.
and Albon set his fastest time on the C4.
Which isn't being used this weekend.
No.
No.
But that's a slight worry if he's setting the fastest time on that tyre when predominantly everyone else, is setting their fastest time on a C3.
Yeah, well, I did see a fair few of the cars out there even on the C5s as well, but obviously they weren't doing full Burko runs on the C5. I guess it doesn't really make sense because what this weekend ultimately is as well is a prelude into next weekend's Grand Prix. Hence why everyone's gone out on what will be the soft tyre of the Grand Prix this weekend. Basically, everyone there has done a qualifying sim.
Yeah.
Well, I know the Ferrari team did qualifying sims, and they were pretty damn quick. But they only did, I think, 1 or 2 quali sims. The rest of the time was them just getting long run pace. The problem with their long run pace, and all the teams did long run pace, the Red Bull came out of it handling it pretty well.
Yep.
The Ferrari came out of it, and despite Uncle Fred sitting there saying, we're really happy with the progress and everything, the Ferrari is not good on its tyres.
They still haven't got that right.
No.
It was bad last year as well. The
That-
Mercedes was really bad too.
I think that's just the Ferrari. Like, let's make it go fast and screw the tyres.
The Ferrari is always really, even in the last lot of regulations, was pretty tyre hungry.
Yeah.
Like, it's always been a car that goes through its tyres, but and obviously, and Sergio Perez is probably the best on the grid at preserving tyres, so that probably doesn't bode well for them coming into this weekend.
No, as far as I could see, the Red Bull seems to have... the Ferrari seemed to have picked up a little bit of speed on the straight, but not so much into the corner where the Red Bull was already quick on the straight, but also has picked up speed into their corners.
Yeah, Max Verstappen was
So-
happy. It's more pointy than last year.
Yeah, so
He complained that last year's Red Bull, despite absolutely dominating the championship,
they reckon this is
he's
even
like
better.
it was understeery and I didn't really like it, and now he's coming out saying this car's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year's car.
This is going to be like
Another run.
McLaren 1988 where they win every race but one.
Yeah. Could it definitely
This
could.
is going to be, this doesn't bode well
Because I
hearing
mean,
that from them.
the Mercedes definitely haven't come out and looked as strong as I would have liked to have seen to see them start challenging. I feel like they're almost behind
they're
again.
sandbagging. I think there's a bit in that Mercedes.
You reckon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are saying that the Aston Martin might be better than the Mercedes this year.
It actually
people, yeah.
looked pretty good over the weekend as a whole.
But-
Yeah, everyone's raving about the Aston.
Yeah.
But is it, again, one of those things? Is the Aston putting out their full set of cards and everyone else isn't? Because what, like...
Well, we're not going to fully
are they
see.
actually a good car?
I'll tell you on Saturday night at about
That's it.
midnight.
I think that the thing about the Aston is it hasn't been driven in anger. Like, it hasn't been driven in racing conditions. There's testing. Yeah, it's very much quali conditions. We haven't seen it
in Stroll's hands.
That too.
In a race.
We it'll probably ignore stop signs and everything like the rest of Canada's worst drivers. But we haven't seen it follow another car. We haven't seen it do...
There were a few actual little race moments over the weekend as well. There was a good moment where there was about 5 or 6 cars, like, within a second of each other, and they're all passing each other down the front straight. And so that, there were opportunities for some of the drivers to follow another car close enough, but not all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
And I say reliability, but there was hardly any breakdowns.
There was none. I think Bottas had a problem with his power unit, the Ferrari power unit.
Yeah.
Did George Russell have a
George
soft
Russell
spot?
had a electrical fault, I think.
Yep. And Piastri had a spin. That was about the...
Yeah,
That was
even
the
the
most that happened.
overall reliability of this year's car seems pretty bulletproof.
Yeah, everyone seems good so far. Like last year, we had Fernando Alonso's Alpine catch on fire.
Yeah,
we had
the fireball at turn 1.
Yeah. At the start of the season, we had multiple... The Red Bulls were catching on fire.
Yep.
AlphaTauris throughout the year, Ferrari. But this testing is like, have they already perfected the reliability of these cars? Because they all seem pretty good.
Yeah, they do.
Well, Alpine made it a priority to get that engine reliable because they completely botched the reliability on the water pump. And that was what was causing all their issues last year. Same as Uncle Fred has made it a priority that engine works properly, turned up to 11 all year.
Yeah, nice.
And apparently they still have the small turbo thing.
Yeah.
They've gone for the small turbo because they know on a straight they're not going to be able to hang with the Red Bull at complete, total top speed. So with the smaller turbo, it means they can get out of corners faster. And that's where they feel like they've got an advantage over the Red Bull, is being able to come out of a corner faster and get away from them a bit.
Yep.
Before they start to pull back in.
The thing is, though, as from everything you're hearing, the Red Bulls actually improved theirs as well this year, So we've gone from Red Bull having, as I was saying before, straight line speed, one of the dominant cars, and then this year they've also improved their coming out of corners, and it's like, this is scary. If Max Verstappen's happy saying that this car's better than last year.
Well, he said that last year's car was overweight, and so they've shared a bit of weight in that Red Bull.
With the carbon?
With the carbon.
I don't think so. I don't think it's carbon.
It's a lighter chassis.
Yeah.
The chassis is lighter. That Red Bull's still full of paint, though, unlike a lot of the competitors.
Yeah. Like, it really does come in underweight.
Yeah. Which is a terrible, terrible proposition for the rest of the grid.
While we're talking, actually, I found that photo I was talking about with the most time gained from 2022 testing to 2023.
Yep.
I'll ask you first, though. Who do you think had the most? The best I already said before, but... Who do you think was the top 3 improved from last year?
Improved. Aston Martin's got to be one.
Aston Martin, Williams, and I'd say Haas.
You got 2?
Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, Johnny's got it.
Oh.
So number 1 was Williams with 2. They were up 2.37, 8 seconds. Aston Martin are up 2.3 seconds. Alfa Romeo are up 2.1 seconds. Mercedes are up 2 seconds.
Wow.
AlphaTauri are up 1.7 seconds. Red Bull are up 1.4 seconds. Ferrari are up 1.3 seconds. McLaren is up 1 second. Haas is up 8 tenths. And Alpine is up a tenth. Alpine's actually as close to they were, like they're early up. They're up less than a tenth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think that doesn't fill me. I mean, there was a time where the Alpine was the fastest in a straight line last year, but I wouldn't be happy with those figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and then you've got the total laps completed. Like, you've got McLaren did 311.
That's terrible.
They had some trouble. Sorry, they had some trouble with the brakes, didn't they?
They were fiddling with the brakes, and they were fiddling with the wheel arches on the front.
Yeah.
Something was up with the wheel arches. They were unstable at high speed.
And that was some of the issues they had last year, yeah?
This is less of an issue.
But,
I think it's more of the wheel arches than the brakes.
Yeah, right.
It's just the wheel arches were too weak. They were like flexing
Right.
at high speed, so they reckon they've already got a fix for it. So
Cool.
it looks worse than it is, but still, I don't like it when
They're getting the
my
tape
team
out.
is. Yeah, I don't like it.
Stick the tape
They had the super glue out, they had the tape out, and they have the least amount of that doesn't. With a car that they already said is not going to be good at the start of the year,
Yeah.
that they already said we're going to have to wait till we get our upgrades in for it to be competitive. Like, confidence is pretty low at the moment.
I
in
can
the
imagine. But
in the
here's
McLaren
here's
camp.
a devil's advocate to that. Could they be sandbagging? Or do you think they're being completely honest with their car?
I think they're being honest.
I think they're being very honest.
Yeah,
They
I
were
think
the
so too.
like.
Add to that Ted Kravitz said that the McLaren looked aerodynamically compromised, and they really do need to get those upgrades going as soon as possible.
Yeah, they
won't be in for a few weeks, apparently.
Well, that's what
few
Andrea
races.
Stella said too. They're like, we have design philosophies, but we realised too late in the piece, and now instead of having them on the car for testing, they're not going to have them for 2-3 races into the season. And
So not looking for a good start.
already
for
on the
McLaren.
already on the back foot, and now more on the back foot with having far and away the least amount of laps in testing. So
Yeah.
And then Alpine was second last with 353. Then Aston Martin with 387. Mercedes with 398. Alfa Romeo with 401. Red Bull with 413. Haas with 414. Ferrari with 416. Williams with 439. And AlphaTauri with 456. It's the two bottom teams did the most amount of laps.
Oh, good for
and
them.
that can
though. So they
only
should
be a good thing for them.
Yeah, that's it. So they should be. You
Well,
know?
you bloody hope so. I mean, last year...
On top of the fact that Williams also get the most amount of wind tunnel time out of
Yeah,
everyone.
but last year Williams did the most amount of laps as well.
Yeah.
And
You
it
got
didn't
to.
improve their car.
No, but I guess you got to be trying, don't you? You know.
It was probably them just giving driving lessons to Latifi.
Yeah, that was probably part
Logan
of it. Yeah.
Sargent.
Trying to pass his Canada's worst driving test.
Right. So we're going to leave testing for a little bit here. We're going to leave this. We're going to talk about how we just watched the latest season of Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Yes, we did.
I quite liked the season.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
I did find it was more team principle based than driver based.
Yes.
It was good to, I really enjoyed, the opening of it is Matteo Binotto and Gunther Steiner in this tiny little car in the Italian Alps,
Yep.
Yeah.
just driving around in this little car going to Gunther's winery.
No, it's Binotto's winery.
Oh, it's Binotto's winery.
Yeah, it's his.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see.
But there was one storyline from last year, because, I mean, they covered the Piastri saga.
They covered a lot of that, yep.
And they covered the cheating.
Yep.
Red Bull cheating.
The cheating in air brackets.
They made Otmar Zafnauer look like a sookie bitch.
He made himself look like a sookie
Yeah.
bitch. to be
I
honest.
lost a lot of respect for him, actually.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
made Toto Wolff look like a whinging bitch.
Oh, yeah. He did that himself. I mean, even
Yeah.
in that scene where he starts whinging about the porpoising, even Christian Horner's like trying to save his ass by going, do you want to do this, like, not in front of the cameras? And
Yeah.
Toto's like, nah, I'm got, you need help. And then even Binotto, I actually come away really liking Binotto from watching this. I thought he was the kind of guy that maybe wasn't quite willing to say things, but he held his own, like, against other team principals. He was willing to go to say what needed to be said. Like,
Yeah.
I come away with a better appreciation of Binotto than I thought from not seeing all of this, because obviously dynamics in the team weren't working. He still probably isn't the team principal they needed, but he didn't seem like the kind of guy that was not adept at,
Yeah.
trying to sort
He
things
could,
out.
He could
but-
handle himself on the big roulette table.
Yeah.
The key scene for me was when Toto was talking to Binotto about Red Bull and the salary cap.
Yep.
And Toto's like, oh, they're cheating and all that crap. And Binotto is trying to be diplomatic and going, look, like, let the FIA do it. Like, just,
Yeah.
And then Christian Horner walks in and he goes, "You guys talking about me?"
Yeah, yeah.
And I felt really bad for Binotto because Binotto was trying to be diplomatic and Toto is just sitting there going, "I'm going to fuck you."
Yeah, yeah. And that's what Toto said, is he said plotting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they get on the grid and Horner is ripping into Binotto and Binotto's just like, "I don't give a shit, mate."
Well, he was saying to him, he's going, "I didn't mention your team." That's
Yeah.
what he said. He said, "Look,
Yeah.
I didn't mention your team." You
Yeah.
know? So
But then what gets really bad is then the president of the FIA goes and sees Christian Horner and says, "You don't have any friends on the grid." It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're the president of the FIA, mate. You shouldn't be saying shit like that.
Yeah, that's
My-
pretty fucked.
My opinion of Ben Salami, whatever his name is, absolutely plummeted after that. I thought that was disgraceful. Him sitting there saying to Christian, "Oh, you've got no friends and everyone's out for your blood." Like, yes, you're the number one team. Everyone's out for your blood. Yes. But the
at least
FIA...
he's being honest with him, though, I think. You know, like, I think Horner was quite aware everyone was out for his blood.
And, like...
Oh yeah, that's what he said when he's sitting in the at the front of the Red Bull thing when they're having practice. He's like, everyone's trying to fuck us.
Yeah, I would rather the president be honest than be like, "Oh, no, you're right, no one's doing it," and then bam, you know, you find out everyone's going. At least he's saying, "Hey,
I think he's like,
everyone's putting pressure on me to fuck yous."
Yeah.
Is what he's trying to say.
That's
for
what
me.
he was trying to say.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to say.
Because Zach Brown's there, and he's like, regulations are regulations.
Yeah, Zach Brown
don't
had the
care-
knives out.
I don't care how he broke the cap, how they broke the cap.
Yep.
And this is what we were saying when it first broke. This is the first time it's been broken. You've got to lay down the law that this can't happen,
Yeah.
rightly or wrongly, be it catering, or be it how the fuck you broke that cap.
Yeah.
There's got to be a punishment.
Yeah.
And that's what Ben Salem was saying to Christian. He's like, you've got no friends in this argument. They want your blood.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
they did, and they were right to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the rules were broken.
Yes.
The rules were broken.
They broke the rules.
Yeah.
But I think Toto Wolff was really heavy-handed.
Yeah, because Toto, and he really come across that in this season. He comes across like such a sore loser. If they're not winning, it feels like Toto will do anything to make you worse to win. Like he won't. Again, we go back to that scene I'm talking about. He's arguing at everyone else. He's like, "I'm going to come after you for changing your car," and they're all like, "Toto, if you have a problem with your car, it's up to you to fix it."
That's what Christian
not
Horner
us.
said. He's like,
Yeah.
we'll fix your fucking car.
Yeah, and he's going, Sergio, ask Sergio about the porpoising. He's like, "My drivers have said nothing," and he's like, "Well, I've got the printouts," you know. And
He's
it's
like,
just
what?
like,
And
my
Christian-
God,
what?
Toto, what are
And
you?
Christian Horner's sitting there going, "If you got a problem with your car, change your fucking car."
Exactly. That's what. Like everyone, you could tell everyone there was just like, "Oh my God, why are we listening to this?" Like, of course, fix your car, Toto. If you're not doing well, it's not up to everyone else to help you. Like
Everyone had porpoising at that stage, but Mercedes was far and away the worst.
Yeah.
That's Mercedes' problem.
That's
Yeah.
right, and he was sitting there like whinging
Red
because they were the
Bull's-
one team that weren't on it. Like
Red
everyone
Bull's
else.
car wasn't porpoising under the same reg. This is before they raised the floor height.
Yeah,
Before it became mandatory to raise the floor height and the diffuser strakes.
yeah.
Red Bull's car under that same regulation wasn't porpoising.
That's it.
Mercedes was the only one that was properly bad.
In
Well,
what
and
world do you help the other team? It's the whole point. Is if you get it right, congratulations to you.
Well,
if you don't, back to the drawing board,
the-
figure it out. Like
Yeah.
The Ferrari was porpoising bad as well, but the drivers were like, "Well, you know, that's by and by with these cars.
Yeah.
They porpoise. Yeah, it'll probably hurt a little bit, but we want to win."
And at the end of the day, they changed the regulations anyway.
Yeah, they changed it
Now
to
the
suit.
Now the
Lewis
floor
Hamilton.
height's 15 millimeters higher and the diffuser's 10 mil higher.
And this was something we asked last year. I think I asked the question, right? And I'll ask it again. If the porpoising was so bad for any other driver other than Lewis Hamilton, would they have changed the spec, the rules? No. I don't think they would have.
Yeah, I'm still scratching my head as to why they changed the regulations in the first place.
Do you think it's because Toto, as you could tell, was obviously putting so much pressure on the fact that they were having problems? Do you feel that Toto influences so much that they bend things for Mercedes? Because if it was another team, I don't know if they would have been complaining as bad. Like
If it was
everyone
Haas,
see-
if it was Haas or AlphaTauri that were
Yeah.
like bouncing,
everyone would be like,
Okay.
"Fix it yourself,"
They're
and they'd be
like,
like, "Okay,
yeah,
of course
fix it."
we've got to do that. That's called
Yeah.
Formula One," you know?
Yeah, no, I think it wasn't so much Toto Wolff putting pressure on them. Yes, I do think he would have been in Ben Salim and Stefano Domenicali's ear going blah, blah, blah about the porpoising. but it would have been because it was happening to Lewis Hamilton, and he climbed out of the car after Baku and could barely walk. And I think FIA and Formula One, well, Liberty Media, sat there and went, oh, the poster boy for our sport is getting out of the car injured. This is a bad look for us. We've got to do something to change
safety,
it.
we can't have that.
If it was Max Verstappen or anyone else, it would have been, oh, well, too bad, so sad.
Fix your car.
Yeah, fix your car. But it happened to Lewis Hamilton, so now we got to change it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And in changing it, they took I think it's part of the reason why Ferrari dropped off. Not only did they have to turn their engine down, but because they lost an aerodynamic advantage or ability, their car couldn't come back and fight Red Bull, and they screwed the championship in the process.
In changing it, they made Red Bull stronger. So that's got to hurt.
It backfired, it did.
But
in changing it, it also made the Mercedes better too.
Yeah.
I mean, after Silverstone, that car was back to where it would have been.
The Mercedes struggled to keep up with the Ferrari at Abu Dhabi because they turned the engine back up.
Yeah.
But
because it's the last engine of the year, you might as well just go party with it.
And they were fighting them in the constructors. So, turn it up and go racing.
Yeah.
And then once they did that, Hamo couldn't hang.
Yeah, no.
So we had reliability in the end.
That's right.
Their car blew up,
But
that seems to be the key at Ferrari. If when the engines turned up, the Ferrari can hang there with the big boys. But can it last? How long can it last till it goes kaboom? And, then you're in trouble. That's the big question for Ferrari, if they can fix that this year.
But there was one, I can't even remember it now, but there was one story from last year that they didn't cover in the show. I just can't remember what it is right now. I was thinking about it a couple of minutes ago, and I've completely blanked on
the
it.
Sergio thing they didn't cover. Remember when Sergio got...
That's the one.
Max was like, fucking, I'm not going to let Sergio...
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did not touch that at all.
Yeah. That was odd.
That's one I really wanted to know about.
Yeah.
What was the deal there?
With Max and Sergio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was the first season that Max actually participated in too.
No, he was in it 2 years ago.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, it was last year when he was in the championship, and they started changing. There was something, and it was around the cheating thing, around the time of the cheating or something, and they were really getting into Max Verstappen. And he said, "I don't want to be in the show. I don't want the cameras around me. I don't want to be a part of the show. I just want to focus." No, it was the 2021 season when he won his first world title.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. He
which is the one that fucking everyone wanted him to be in.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, shit, man, you could have given your side of the story to all this Lewis shit.
Oh, yeah, we had to hear a huge amount of Hamilton's story from Lewis. Didn't get to hear yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually one thing, as you said before, this was mostly team principal focus, which I don't mind. But, I feel like we miss out on a bunch of people. I was disappointed we didn't see any of Vettel. He retired, and we seen nothing of him.
Yeah, we didn't see anything.
I mean, we don't ever see anything really about Aston Martin. I'm assuming because Stroll.
I think you're more disappointed because we didn't see anything of Latifi or Stroll.
Well, we see nothing from Williams this year.
I mean, Jost Capito.
Oh, little bits of him, but I mean, the episodes were focused around. We had one on AlphaTauri, one on Ferrari, one on Mercedes, one on Haas, one on Red Bull, and one on Alpine.
And then McLaren. Alpine Starker.
So we had nothing for Aston Martin or Alfa Romeo. We didn't even see. I think we seen Zhou Guanyu crash. That was it. And they asked him, "Were you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I crashed."
And that was it.
And I'm all right. And that was it. That's all we seen of him.
I don't think we saw Valtteri Bottas.
No, we didn't. I'm like, I want to see a bit more of these guys. It's his rookie year. You tell me you had nothing else of Zhou Guanyu. You showed 3 episodes in a row of Silverstone from 3 different constructor angles.
3 different angles.
And every single time we had to re-witness the accident that was the biggest accident we've seen in so bloody long, blah, blah, blah. And all I get from Zhou Guanyu is, I crashed. And I'm okay.
I was okay, but then they pushed my car off and I was okay. Bye.
I will admit, there was a moment there where I did get a little bit teary-eyed as when that accident happens. and George Russell pulled over the car and just jumped out and just started
Just
legging it
ran
over.
across the gravel trap to him.
Like all the marshals like, stay back, whatever, and he's just going, no, fuck this.
Yeah, I got a huge amount of respect from George Russell after that day. I really like George Russell as a driver.
He's a good person.
Something else I actually kind of respected a lot was that every time Lando Norris showed up with his girlfriend and people were asking for his autograph, he just went, nope, and just kept walking and got his girlfriend out of it.
Yeah.
Like, she's coming to the races, but she doesn't need to be a part of the media circus. And, like, there's a lot of people who just walk up and just take a selfie and then go, yeah,
just
thanks.
Asked, hey, it's rampant. I don't know how some of them deal with it, eh?
You know, and I think it was, like, Lando Norris was like, no, you're not, no, go away.
Oh,
no.
he was like, I can't. Like, I got to keep going, you know? And
Yeah.
And so he should, like, I couldn't imagine, I hate those people. I couldn't imagine being someone that forces your way in to take a photo with someone on a selfie.
And
like, for God's sake, I'm just going to have a little rant about the world now, but it's like, why are we so addicted to our phones? Like, we got to capture it on our phone. What? You're there watching something, the TV cameras aren't good enough to recap what happened? You've got to have it on your phone because that's going to be superior to all the other coverage.
Did you see the photo of LeBron James when he broke the NBA scoring record?
Yeah, and then the NBA...
the only person there was Phil Knight, the guy who drafted him.
Yeah. Yep.
He's the only one there not on his phone. He's just sitting there watching it.
Yep. And then
everyone else was like... Ugh.
And then they went back to something of Michael Jordan years and years ago, and everyone's watching.
Yeah.
In the moment. It made me so sad to see that.
That was his championship shot in 98.
Yeah. So sad to see that. Because that's what I think. I look at that and I go, oh, what? Your shitty little Nokia footage is going to be better than you watching it in real life. Like, if it's that important to you, watch it on YouTube again, on the TV cameras. Like, and be like, I was there. Not like, oh, here, watch my shit little... Like, why is it so important, everyone? It baffles me, man. It really baffles me. People can't live in the moment anymore. It's got to be through a camera. And it was very prevalent in Drive to Survive because every time someone was walking up in the paddock, someone would come along, oh, photo. You're just like, God's sake, how can't people just take in someone there and be like, that's cool. I can see Zach Brown. Why do you have to have a photo with him? Like,
because I want to.
Yeah, like
I'd be that guy.
Yeah, but you're a McLaren fan.
Yeah,
you know
I know.
what I mean?
I'd totally be that guy. I'd be like, hey, Zach, can I have some?
Yeah.
I'd ask though.
There's a time and place.
I wouldn't push in.
There's a time and place. I feel like there was one where Zach Brown's walking on the phone, and someone walks up, and it's like, and then it keeps going. Like, I don't know how they do it. Good on famous people who can deal with that.
They get paid a lot of money to, those fans are the reason.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Half the reason as to why those paychecks are so big.
I guess that's true. For me, it's just like there's a time and a place. Like, do it at a greet and meet or something, or somewhere where...
They do have signing and autograph sessions.
Yeah, exactly. Go to one of them if it's important to you, not like while they're trying to get through their day or something.
Yeah, exactly. Not when they're like trying to get to the grid for qualifying. Like,
that's
literally trying to get in the fucking zone and you're trying to take a selfie.
Yeah.
Nah.
Sorry, I missed all that. I was on my phone.
Just living in the moment.
Just living in the moment. But it's kind of like when you go to a concert, and everyone's got their phone and looking through their phone at the concert and filming it, and then by the time you get home, there's like 300 videos of poorly shot footage of the concert on YouTube, where you've got people going, shut the fuck up.
But it's like super bassy because they don't cover the speakers. So it's just like,
Or they've put their phone, like their head, over the speaker on the phone, so it's all muted. So it's just.
But it's no clearer.
And it's shaky cam footage that would make Michael Bay blush.
Yeah.
It's just the most ridiculous thing ever. But just people walking up and going, oh yeah, and walking off. Like, ask permission, for Christ's sake.
At least do that. Don't force your way in. Yeah.
And it's not just Formula One. I mean, like, I think a few times James Hetfield from Metallica has brushed people away and said, "Oi, if you want to take a photo, come and ask me."
Yeah.
If I'm with my family, and it's the same with The Undertaker.
Yeah.
If he's with his family,
don't
go up to him and ask him for a selfie because he will say no. And I think Taker has done it a couple of times where someone's come up while he's with his family and just taken a selfie without asking, and he's punched them.
Yeah, well, you got to fucking learn respect, eh?
That's it.
Whereas, like, Hetfield...
This is social media society where it's just like, people have forgotten what respect is.
That's right.
Yeah.
They've forgotten what life is in a
They've
sense.
forgotten what
Everything's
social
through
etiquette
social
is.
media, which isn't real, everyone. Anyway, that's enough of Brody rants.
Yeah,
for
but
today.
I've got 355 friends on Facebook, mate. 335 friends on Facebook. They're my real friends.
They all love and respect you.
Actually, to be honest,
They all like the photos of your perfect life that you're living.
I hardly put anything up on Facebook.
Oh, I seen you put up your footage of LeBron James's winning shot.
Yeah. When did you
Did
tell
I?
us about that?
Did I?
Yeah, and you had a selfie up with Mattia Bonotto and Charles Leclerc walking
And
through
the
the paddock.
Undertaker as he's punching me in the face. Yeah.
when were you in
that's
Monaco,
right.
mate?
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc looked really surprised.
Yeah,
He got
yeah,
this-
like-
There was
he wasn't smiling. He was sort of frowning.
there
And he was at dinner at a restaurant.
there was actually one person
It
who
was
surprised.
at the strategy meeting after Hungary or whatever the fuck it was. They looked real pissed.
Literal
When you just
deflated.
walked in, they just
It's
Oh,
a mistake.
It was Monaco where they cost Leclerc the win in fucking Monaco, and you're there on their yacht taking a selfie with
I was on the
Bonotto
yacht at Miami.
on the fake water.
Yeah.
Just living
Actually-
in the moment.
Actually, they're the two races where I thought that the crowds were the rudest and were sitting there doing all that selfie
Yeah, of
crap.
course,
Was
'cause that's what it was.
Miami was a shithole.
Miami and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
They were just the
Vegas is
fucking
going to
worst.
be
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
terrible.
yeah. Imagine.
Wouldn't want to be in the
Well,
fucking
no,
paddock
but
at
Vegas
Vegas.
won't be terrible because no one can afford the fucking tickets.
Yeah, true.
And those of them that can are social media influencers.
Yeah, that needs
Oh,
to get
what the fuck
selfies.
could be there?
Logan and Jake Paul. Yay.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be
Good to see
But
him lose
th-
today.
Speaking though of celebrities, I did notice that they had a lot of footage in one episode of one celebrity in the Mercedes garage at Silverstone.
Tom Cruise.
Tom
Top
Cruise.
Gun.
I'm amazed he let them use that. Because they've actually got clips of him talking on the headset and stuff. It seems like he doesn't know fucking anything about racing.
No, he doesn't.
He's
Yeah.
done Days of Thunder. You should know something about
He
racing.
knew nothing, eh? I remember I can't remember what he asked, but it was such a basic question, and Toto answered it for him. And I watched the whole season with my missus. Even she looked at me, and she's just like, he knows nothing about it, does he?
Yeah.
The only thing he knows is to not go around the outside of turn 4, but
And tyres win races.
tyres win races, yeah.
Yes.
I
Did
thought
you
you
hear as
weren't
well-
going around the outside of turn 4, but here we are.
Did you hear as well? Hamilton said something about when they asked him about driving or something. He said, "I'll be here unless they offer me Top Gun."
Yeah. He's like, can they offer me Top Gun?
Yeah.
Someone can fill in.
Someone will have to fill
Well,
in.
there is actually a new Formula One movie coming out. And Lewis Hamilton,
part of it, isn't he?
Lewis
He's a
Hamilton's
producer.
a producer.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Cruise is also a producer on the movie.
Right.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, but I don't think it won't be Rush.
No,
It
it won't
just
be.
won't be Rush.
It won't be. Nothing will be Rush.
Have we confirmed what the story is about again?
No.
Right.
No.
It's a racially suppressed
It's-
black man
All I know is it's
coming up through the streets.
All I know is it's the same.
Despite being incredibly rich, he's still somehow completely.
Persecuted.
He's still completely just miserable, despite
Oppressed.
being the highest paid driver at the grid.
Yeah.
But
Think
And
he's
the
that
most
huge,
loved by all the fans.
except some of them who wear orange,
the biggest fan following in the sport.
but oppressed
Oppressed.
and hated.
Impressed.
Don't forget hated.
And he's a fashion victim. My
fashion-
God, some of the things he
I
wore.
love they had this shot of there of him rocking up in that purple outfit.
Yes.
I'm just like, hey, rap star.
Oh, no, I remember that scene because I was bloody in the kitchen quickly grabbing like a drink or something, and my missus goes out, "Oh, this bloody guy," and I'm like, "What?" Come running back to rewind it for me. She's like, "Watch this idiot."
With his purple robe and his fucking big Yeezys on.
Gosh, yeah.
What a superstar.
Oh, there was even a.
Oh my God. even like the fan meet and greet at Abu Dhabi. Like he showed up at Abu Dhabi in that purple thing. And then they're doing the meet and greet. And George Russell is in the Mercedes regalia.
Yes,
He's
this
got
is what I said to my missus.
And Lewis Hamilton showed up in his best attempt at trying to look like DMX.
Yeah.
And he looks stupid.
Yeah.
You're allowed to wear the team polo if you want, Lewis.
Yeah.
You are a race driver.
It would be nice. You are representing Mercedes right now, who pays you all that money.
You're representing your fucking Ice Cube in the 90s. The best ghetto rap from the fucking 90s right now.
Yeah, he just rocked up. He looked like DMX or one of those other rappers that ended up in those Jet Li movies from like the early 2000s, like Romeo Must Die and
Yes.
Exit Wounds and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, fuck it.
So, what was our favourite bits?
My favourite bits for me.
I liked seeing the human side of most of the team principals.
Yeah.
And I really hate Otmar Zafnauer now.
Yeah.
Like, proper hate him
Can
now.
I say as well, it actually really made me like Alonso for leaving a little bit more, because one of the things was Alonso was like, this team is happy to be fourth, like that's what they want. And then you watch this the whole time, and they're just like, yeah, fourth. We're going for fourth. All we want is fourth. And every other team, regardless on the grid, is like, we want that world championship. You know, we want that world championship. And Alpine's like, the target was fourth. We've got fourth.
They're just trying to fuck on...
Even
And it was great, though, because the whole time Otmar's fucking on Zach. So what's Zach do? Oscar Piastri's mine now.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
It's like, oh, well, enjoy fourth. We've got your boy.
yeah, pretty
It's
much.
like, who won the trade?
That's it.
And now I look at the testing laps, and they only did 40 more laps than McLaren. So, how's
And they're
that
not fourth.
It's like,
Yeah, they're not fourth.
It's like, how's your fourth place treating you? Like, you only did.
Yeah, but they're ahead of McLaren.
They did more laps than us. I don't think they were faster necessarily.
But well, for me, some of the highlights again, seeing Gunther Steiner. You know,
Yeah,
That's
he's
his
easily-
show.
and
Yeah.
you know what? Fully
Yeah.
understanding now why they dumped Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, they definitely. That was actually a decent episode, the Haas one. They they showed that from a different angle than
Yeah.
we'd previously sort of.
And now,
See.
now I get it. Like last year, I was like, you're dumping like he's a talented driver, and I still agree that he is a talented driver. And much like his old man, if you put him in a good car, he can do something magic.
Mm.
But the Haas wasn't the right fit for Mick, and
Not
I
where
can,
they're at.
and I can understand why. Like they want to get points, they want to move further up the ladder,
Yeah.
and having Hulkenberg come in is a safer pair of hands than a guy who, if you ask him to push,
He crashes
wraps it around a fucking tree.
and does big damage. not
Yeah.
little
And
damage.
splits the fucker in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 write-offs.
Twice.
Yeah.
So I totally understand why.
There also seemed, I don't know if you picked up, but there also seemed to be a little bit of animosity between Gunther and Mick. As in, personalities seemed to be
Yeah.
clashing. Compared to the year before, and maybe that was because they had Mazepin, who was, more of something for them to worry about. It
Yeah.
felt like this year, because Magnussen was doing so well, you could tell that, like, Gunther trusted Magnussen because they kept having those chats. He was chatting to Magnussen about who should we get. And kudos to Kevin, man. He kept trying to support Mick. He kept trying to say he can do it. You could tell he was trying to back him until, it got to a point where they were like, we've got to move on,
He had K-Mag and he had Vettel, both backing him and both going, oi, you can do this.
Yeah.
And like it was a really great moment when he got points at Silverstone. Like it felt really, really cathartic and everything. But it just felt like it was too little too late.
Yeah. I completely do understand the move. Like I said, I think in the long run, I don't think it's... Like, I think Mick Schumacher has a good future in Formula 1, and it would have been nice to let him see that out in Haas.
Wait till him
But
to
it's
get
just
to Audi.
wrong. Yeah, but just maybe wrong place, wrong time. Not ready to be in a team like Haas that needs those points, like you're saying, to slowly move up the grid. But where he's gone is probably the perfect place because he can now learn in a reserve role in one of the better constructors on the grid,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
hopefully come back better.
And
in
then
the
when
future.
Audi's ready to have him, man, he can start himself from square one along with the team.
Yeah,
He will grow with the team.
instead of being in a team that was at the bottom needing experience to pull them along,
Yeah.
he can be at a team and, like you said, who have experience by them and start with them along the journey.
Yeah,
Go
it will
with
be
it.
better for him in the long run to be with a team like Audi.
Yeah, definitely.
Another team boss who, another one of my favourite things was just seeing more of Christian Horner.
I like
I
Christian
like
Horner.
Christian
Yeah,
Horner.
I got a lot of time for Christian. He's a good man.
You
And
know,
even away from the track, like he's just a dad.
Yeah.
and
Like, he's such a good
I have
dad.
to say this out loud. I did put this in the group chat. Jerry Halliwell is 50. I know that because she is exactly 10 years older than me. God, she looks good. And she's pregnant.
Yeah, she's hot. She's still hot.
And she got pregnant at the end of last year.
Really?
At 50.
Yeah.
At 50?
Yeah. So
Yeah, right.
I was
Science,
prepared to take one for the team and help her out with that. But clearly she's gone for the richer offer.
I think Christian's got you on that one, mate.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unfortunately,
but
that's
like
that's
okay.
Like a lot of things, mate. He's
That's
he's
right.
got
I'm
you.
prepared to settle for Baby Spice. It's no problem.
I come away really like I've already said it, but I come away really liking Mattia Bonanno. I almost felt not bad for him because I still agree probably wasn't the right team principal, but he still seems like someone that is good in a team, is going to help a team go forward in whatever capacity he can. Like, he didn't seem like someone that wasn't competent. It wasn't like he wasn't competent. It was clearly, as we've seen in that scene, the bloody strategy guy pull out his notepad.
Yeah,
to
a
try,
little spiral bound
yeah,
pad.
you know, and who knows how much of this is put on to make it seem that way, but why does he have a notepad? Like, they've got all this equipment in front of him, and he's like, "Oh, but fucking what page is it?"
Oh,
You know,
look,
the strategy call in, and fucking
Fuck me.
second I need it is, "Oh, what page?" You're like,
Thing is, though, like, I can understand them having a notepad of something to write down stuff on the fly rather than type it out on a computer or
yeah,
whatever.
but his was like a pocket one where he had previous stuff written down and had forgotten what page it was on.
It looked like it'd been around for a couple of years and been beaten up and everything. It was a
Exactly.
spiral bound one, so you're just sitting there. It must have been a $2 one from the local news agent.
Old faithful. Like,
You know.
oh yeah, those strategy calls are in here somewhere. Oh, I just got to find. Old Gil needs to find a strategy call. You know?
There's a lot of crosses through these strategy calls and torn out pages.
Meanwhile, both their cars have gone round and forgot to pit on the fucking safety car, and everyone
Meanwhile,
else is
they're calling Charlotte at the
does-
same time
Yeah,
to
why
double
did
stack.
they not pit them? I don't
Ah.
get it.
I did notice that Mattia Bonotto's number 2 guy, who was the guy with the grey beard and grey hair, looks a lot like Kirk Hammett.
He does.
I was like, what the fuck is Kirk Hammett doing there?
Well, there's your problem. Your strategy guy actually plays Metallica part-time.
Yeah,
so,
he's too busy figuring out strategy with a wah pedal.
yeah, fuck.
But yeah, the episode where it was McLaren versus Alpine and Otmar is like, they show his morning routine. I'm just sitting there going, you're gonna need a lot more than beetroot juice and some vitamin P pills.
I know,
buddy.
right?
Fat cunt.
And then you,
My missus said something like that too. She's like, I don't think he's just been having beetroot juice and vitamins.
Look
Something
at
tells me.
Look at the gut on him, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not all you're having.
Yeah.
Croissant.
you know what's even worse is I think he's bigger than Eric Buffet.
He's a big dude, and he's here saying, I drink beetroot juice and vitamin pills.
Every morning.
And that car he's driving is the ugliest piece of crap I've ever
Oh,
seen.
my God.
It's not nice, is it?
But then you've got Zach Brown, and like, look, I did lose a little bit of respect for Zach Brown over this season. I don't know why, just something about him where I was just like, something's just not clicking with me this year.
I wouldn't trust Zach Brown. That's how
Yeah.
I would describe him. I think he tries to do the best thing for McLaren, but I wouldn't trust him. I feel like he would say one thing to you and then do another.
But-
Where guys like Christian Horner, I would trust.
But I totally backed him over Otmar Zafnier.
Yeah, they did nothing wrong. That was
Yeah.
Alpine's complete fuck up.
Yeah, and
100%.
And like Otmar kept going on about, I
Suing
would have
him.
thought Piastri would have been loyal and loyalty and da 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 da. And you're just like,
Shut
well,
up, man.
you didn't put a real contract in front of him.
Yeah.
You had an internal memo. That was it.
Yeah.
You got what you deserved.
You were trying to re-sign Alonso when you shouldn't have been. You should have been looking at your young, hot, up-and-coming driver.
Well, there's 2 drivers that I actually lost a ton of respect for because of this season. Driver number 1 was Fernando Alonso, because like, here he is talking to Otmar and talking about a contract, and Otmar's sitting there saying, look, if I say the contract's going to be here on Friday, it'll be here on Friday. You've got my word on that. And then
What was it?
like, they did something special for his birthday, and you could tell that Fernando in the back of his brain is going, I fucking got you, mate. I have fucking got you. Thank you for all this, but
I'm out.
I'm out. Larry Stroll has bought this train, and I'm getting on those tracks.
Fernando Alonso is the most in it for himself driver I've ever seen.
He's a snake.
Yeah.
He's
a snake in the grass.
He's a proper prick, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You want to talk about not trusting someone?
I wouldn't trust him, but I'll give him a tiny bit of little leeway. It doesn't make me like him anymore, but I get his sentiment that he wants to be in a team that's still competing, or at least that's their mindset. I mean, he's won 2 world championships. He knows what you got to do that. And Alpine didn't seem like that team. They seemed like they had a lot of fun. It seemed like they were trying to build, but it felt like they were happy with 4th. Like, it really did feel like... And I can understand if they're like, look, our target is 4th, but we're trying to get the world championship. It felt like their target was just to, like, you know...
It was a
be the best of the rest. If we're the best of the rest, that's the best we can do.
Yeah,
and we're happy with that.
It was a knee-high bar.
Yes, and they were, like, more than ecstatic to make it, where Aston Martin felt like... And you could see that because Otmar in the show was like, I was at Aston Martin, which was becoming a pressure cooker because they wanted results. And you could see Larry Stroll was obviously a man who's like, I want to win that world championship in 5 years. Why aren't you bringing that to me, Otmar? And Otmar left and went to the clearly easier, more passive place that's like happy to get 4th.
Yeah.
And I can understand if you're a driver, you do want to win a world championship. I can understand wanting to be at a team with the highest ambition, not a team that's like, we're going to get 4th and then see how we go. And it kind of felt like that's what Alpine was.
Yeah.
You know?
The other driver who I lost a lot of respect for, and this is going to shock you, was Daniel Ricciardo.
Really?
Because I think that, and I think I said this a few times last year, was he needed to knock off all the clowning around and focus on what he's got to do. And you could see it with this Netflix. Like, he's just fucking about. And you're like, you don't deserve it, mate. You just don't deserve it. I just really just started to dislike him.
My missus has a theory that she reckons through watching Drive to Survive after, she said she couldn't remember the accident, but I think it might have been Roman Grosjean's accident, the really bad one where everyone thought he was dead.
Yeah.
She said she remembers watching Drive to Survive, and ever since that accident or whatever it was, she said, Ricardo said in one of the shows that you realise your mortality. And she said, I reckon he's lost the, that extra second of push because he's thinking about his, mortality. And that could line up with his performance, because as much as I do think McLaren didn't give him the greatest car, it didn't feel like the Daniel of old that would push to the limit. It did feel like Daniel of old that was a couple seconds off Lando Norris all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think there could be some merit to that? And he's
so.
starting to clown around more because he's also realised like he has got a personality in Formula One that he's growing and can grow outside of. He's doing all these things outside of Formula One. Do you think in his own head he's even maybe clicked that he's lost that a little bit and he's focused on other things more than driving?
Yeah, I think he's too focused on, I live in America, I can please the American audience. I'm the reason why America is now watching F1.
Yeah, he's a personality more than an F1 driver, in a sense. And it's like, is it because he's lost that little bit from whatever this accident was?
Yeah, possibly.
Do you think he's lost the edge, do you know what I mean, to drive in Formula One? That's why his performance dropped off.
I think when he announced that he was the Red Bull reserve driver, he said, look, I'm burned out.
I think he's mentally fried. Yeah.
So going back to Red Bull would be like the best option for him.
It definitely was, and I'm really hoping it gets the best out of him. I was just, when my missus said that, it made me think, I thought, maybe she's seeing something I'm not seeing, it being someone who's doesn't follow it as closely as, us, and maybe there's something to that, because you're like, what makes him just lose a few seconds? I get the car wasn't great, but you are meant to be one of the fastest guys on the grid,
Yeah, well, it's like Gunther Steiner when he was looking for a replacement driver and someone said Ricardo, and he goes, he wants $10 million.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
he wants too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's...
I reckon Ricardo would have gone to Haas if they'd paid him the $10 million because, yay, I'm an American team and I get to appease the American audience and make myself look American and stuff. It's just like...
And get paid for not much expectation.
Yeah, for lowering your own bar.
Yeah.
And, I just lost a ton of respect for Danny Rick. A guy who I got a lot of respect for, but he's only featured like twice in the entire series, was Yost Capito.
Yeah.
Every time he was asked a question, he gave you the answer that was the most straightforward, no bullshit, no politics, just bam, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, do you think Red Bull cheated? Yes. The FIA has determined they're cheated, and they'll get punished accordingly.
Mm.
Yeah, that was his answer. It was straightforward.
Yeah.
There's no politics, there was no bullshit. And I think a lot of people respect him because he was straightforward and no bullshit.
Yeah. And not backstabby. He was just
And then,
literally like, okay, it's up to the FIA, but the other teams were like, you've got to destroy them, sending emails. This needs to be a huge punishment, where I couldn't imagine Yost was that kind of guy.
No,
he probably would have been like, yeah, they've cheated, do something, but
yeah,
I'm not going to sit here to persuade, do you know what I mean, to be anymore.
Yeah.
I did notice there was another team principal that only showed up once in the entire series.
Mike Rack.
No. He didn't even... I don't think he even showed up.
You've seen him in the background like once.
Yeah. Like, it was... In fact, you didn't see anyone from Aston Martin.
That's what I was saying before. I was really shocked that we didn't get an episode of Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
He retired. Like, there was nothing of him.
Yeah, it was just the...
Except when he retired, but that was to do with the McLaren Alpine saga.
Yeah.
Like, it was just showing you what had
I
happened.
liked Sergio Perez going, he's got an Instagram?
Yeah.
And he fires it up there and then, and he watches the video, and he's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's just retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolute shock on his face.
Yeah.
But you only saw Fred Vasseur once. And that was right at the end of the last episode where they're like, so, do you think you'll look good in red? And he was just like,
Yes.
I don't know.
He
Maybe.
knew.
He knew, yeah.
That was before all that shit kicked off too.
There was another thing that was a little bit sad for me, and I know you're not a fan of her, but seeing Jenny Gow in the show, because I follow Jenny Gow on Instagram, and I think it was mid-January she had a severe stroke, and all her Instagram posts that she's put up, like written ones, her husband's had to type out for her because she was struggling to communicate. Now she can type, but her spelling is still a bit fucked up, and she's learning how to speak again.
Yeah.
But she put up a thing on, I think it was Friday, on Instagram, just saying that she was really proud of her small part in Drive to Survive, and that she couldn't do more because of what happened.
Yeah, she was only in there for that one scene.
And it sort of saddened me a bit, because, like, I know you're not a big fan of her, but...
She's passionate about what she does, though.
And just the fact that she, in an instant, she went from talking about Formula One to she was unable to speak, and she almost died from it. So it sort of...
Oh, look. Yeah, okay, I'm not the biggest fan of her journalism. But...
Yeah. But you
she's
wouldn't
still
wish that fate upon anyone.
She's still a human being.
Yeah.
And she deserves all the compassion
I did notice...
and all the sympathy that she's received and she continues to receive, even from me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that happened to Jenny Gow.
Yeah.
You know, it's not personal that I...
No.
I
It
wasn't a fan of her... I wasn't a fan of her journalism. And
it doesn't mean that you don't like her as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's still a human being, and she's still a passionate woman about what the sport of Formula One, which is amazing. And
I did notice that Will Buxton toned down his Buxtonisms.
Oh, no,
this
you
year.
still got a classic. Did you not hear
Still got a
the
few.
absolute classic one?
No,
you didn't hear it?
I must have missed it.
All right. This was the classic. Well, this was early in the show, too. I just lost it. I was like, we're going to get another great season of Will Buxton here. But he was like, you want to be on pole because that means you're first and you start ahead of the other 19 drivers.
You sure that wasn't a clip from a previous
Nah,
year?
that was Will Buxton talking in this show.
Oh, Will
I
Buxton.
remember that too. That was like Bahrain. And
Yes, it was real early.
And
Yeah.
I was just like,
oh.
yes.
But to be fair, he wasn't as bad as previous, but he had that one.
I think he might have taken the online criticism and toned it down a bit.
He wasn't talking to us like preschool
Yeah.
anymore.
But overall, I actually enjoyed this season, and I quite liked that there was more of the team principles.
Yeah.
And it showed a lot more of the cattiness, and that there was a lot less of the sort of quote-unquote fake rivalries that the show
There
had
wasn't,
sort of
there was
manufactured.
everything that they showed was real. Like, they didn't make anything up. There was drama, but it wasn't made up in a sense. It was like what actually went on. Whereas, was it last year they played off Daniel and Lando like there was something going on, and that's where everyone was like, you're clutching at straws here, you know? And I wasn't a fan of that either. When it's just actually them sort of just capturing and putting together parts to, even if it's putting together parts to enhance the drama that's actually happening, I'm cool with that. That's what I want to see. But I don't want them to make something up, you know, with cut bits and pieces. But they didn't do that this year, so it was good.
Right. So moving right along to our constructors and ranking our constructors, our predictions this year for the constructors.
All right.
So we'll start at number 10. Start at number 10. JB, you can go first.
All right, number 10. It's going to be Williams still, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Not by as much.
Yeah?
Yep. Not by as much.
Okay, Longhorn, you want to go next?
Yeah, mine's also Williams. I agree with Johnny. I think this year the cars are going to be a bit closer, and I think for Williams might have a few more points finishes this year. So they're hopefully get into the double digits this year, fingers crossed. But I still don't think they're going to do enough to beat any of the other competitors, unfortunately.
Okay. So I did watch Ted Kravitz's thing, and he also did say Williams. But I've gone against the grain.
Oh, I like it.
Because he said it's going to be very tight between Williams and my number 10, which is AlphaTauri.
Righto, yep.
Because he firmly said the AlphaTauri, there's nothing special in that car. And they're going to struggle. So I'm going number 10, AlphaTauri. So, JB, who's your number 9?
My number 9 will be AlphaTauri. For above reasons mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a special car. I don't think it's a special driver lineup either.
I mean, Nick DeVries is something special, but Yuki Tsunoda is just a dumpster fire.
Nick DeVries, I reckon, will be the number 1 driver in that team by season's end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Yuki Tsunoda is living on borrowed time.
Unless he has a blinder every year.
Which I don't think he will.
I don't know if he's got it in him, eh?
No. Longhorn, you're number 9?
I've gone against the grain too and gone against you boys. I've gone with Haas. I just don't think they've got anything exciting in their lineup, and I think they might come out firing for a couple of races, and I just think they're not going to go on from there like they did last year. And whereas I think everyone ahead of them might have a few more surprises throughout I think they might be more consistent throughout the year. So yeah, for that reason, I think Haas will be 9th. I think they'll bring the car home safely, but with not many points.
Well, my number 9 is Williams. I think they've made a few steps in the right direction. The worrying thing for me is that James Vowles hasn't appointed a technical director and is actually looking for a technical director. So that's slightly worrying when it comes to things like upgrades on the car.
Yeah, we're about to start the season. We don't have a technical director.
Yeah.
It's a bit worrying,
especially seeing that Williams, for the majority of its sort of career as a team, has had some of the best technical directors. Like, I think Adrian Newey was there, Patrick Head, Sam Michael. Yeah, they've been really great technical directors. So
and now we have no one.
Yeah. I mean, last couple of years you've had a guy named FX.
Francois something.
Yeah.
X something.
Every time they said FX, I just thought it was the Brian Brown movie. Yeah. All right. JB, you're number 8.
Haas.
Haas.
I said it. They blew their load last year.
Yeah.
The entire time that Haas was good was because they spent all their development tokens on the 2022 car, and by the time all that development was done, and it lasted about 5 races, everyone had caught them, and then by season's end they were buried, and I don't think they've got anything left to continue to go up with. So they will be 8th.
Agreed.
Yep. Your number 8 is
My number 8's AlphaTauri, and the reason I got him pipping Haas is for exactly what JB said. I just don't think they're going to have any improvement over the course of the season, whereas I can see AlphaTauri not coming out and blowing anyone away at all, but I can see them being a bit more consistent over the year, and I feel they've got a good driver in Nick. I think Nick De Vries is going to be really surprise people this year and how good he will be. I think he probably will lead the team at the end of the year as well. But I do think Tsunoda will have a better year. Whether it's a blistering year that keeps his seat, I don't know. But I think he will have a more consistent, better year. Because I think he has improved each year. He's got to nut out his emotional, behaviour and just learn to be focused on the track. If he can do that, everyone describes him as a diamond in the rough because he's got the pace on the day. It's just putting it together with some patience. So I think he will be better at it this year, enough to steer them into 8th, I guess. So
I think Yuki Tsunoda reminds me of that crystal chick from Canada's Worst Drivers. Like, just too much of a hothead.
Yeah.
Too emotional. Too overcooked in the brain.
Yeah.
And it just makes bafflingly silly decisions.
Yep.
My number 8 is Haas. And I've gone with Haas being number 8. I don't think they're going to be the drizzling shits that we think. And my reasoning behind that is by not having Mick Schumacher wreck the car every couple of races, by having a steady pair of hands in Nico Hülkenberg. Are they going to set the world on fire? Hell no. But I think they're going to go a little bit better than you think.
I don't know, man.
Well,
I think we were right when we said that they're a steady pair of hands in 13th and 14th.
That's honestly how I can see it happening. Because even, here's the thing, Kevin Magnussen was a great pair of hands. Okay, he had that pole. The first 5 races, he was great. And if you get that first 5 races this year, sure, Nico Hülkenberg will bring it home in the points again. But for the rest of the year, Kevin Magnussen did nothing other than his pole at, was it Brazil?
Yeah, and then he dropped like a rock anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So in this, I'm like, and if we go back to, again, it's only testing, but if we go back to the improved times on 2022, they were the lowest. They didn't improve at all.
yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, I feel like they're just going to be the same bucket that they drove around in last year, but safely.
Yeah.
Well, would you like to know who Ted Kravitz put at number 8?
Who?
This is going to shock you. You ready?
I know.
McLaren.
Yeah.
He said because that car is nowhere near where it needs to be. And at the start, when you want to get points, that thing's not going to get anywhere near points.
It's going to play catch-up all year.
Yeah. And they're just going to be behind the 8 ball the whole time. And initially, when I did this, I did have them down at 8th as well. But I was just like,
surely they're better than driver pairing has to be get a bit more than the bottom 3 teams.
So, JB, who's your number 7?
My number 7 is Alfa Romeo.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think Zhou Guanyu's got too much pressure on himself. And Valtteri Bottas is on the downside of his career. The car will be alright. They'll get points every now and then, but that's about as far. I mean, it looks great. It looks great. I don't think it's going to be as fast as it looks. And I don't think the driver pairing's strikingly confidence-filling.
Longhorn?
My number 7 is McLaren.
Oh, the higher you climb, the sharper the knives are.
I've said it last year. I think they've gone they've got a bad design philosophy on their car. And I think it's continued into this year, and they've come out and basically said that. I think Oscar Piastri is going to be a fantastic driver, but he's still a rookie, and he's driving in a poorly designed car. And I think they're going to play catch up all year. Unfortunately, I think they're not going to score points early, which is I think that's super important in the long run in the season. And then I just don't know if they're going to be. I mean, their saving grace is going to be Lando. Is going to be their driver pairing. If somehow they can extract stuff from the car, that will make me look. They will make me look silly. But in terms of the car and all of that, I'm not very confident in it for this year.
Well, my number 7 was Alfa Romeo. I think they've got a placeholder team principal. I think that's a worry for me. Even though they'll probably make him the permanent... I don't even know who it is.
Seidel, isn't it?
No. No, he's appointed someone to be the
Oh, so he's, what, technical director?
Seidel. No, he's CEO of Sauber.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
I
like the
thought he
boss.
was-
He's like
yeah.
the boss.
He's
Righto.
he's the Zach Brown.
Yeah, righto. Yep.
But
So he's going to have someone under him yet, but he hasn't
yeah,
appointed that. Right.
he's appointed someone to be the team representative, not team principal, but team representative.
So is he going to be the team? Is he then going to be sort of that person? Like, is it going to be a McLaren situation where Zach Brown was kind of the team principal, but
Nope.
no? So it's
Nope.
going to be this new guy, not Seidel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was looking after the Audi shit.
But I think that I think the weak link in the team is still Zhou Guanyu.
Yeah.
But I think he'll fare better than Yuki Tsunoda.
I think he's going to surprise people this year, Zhang Guanyu, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think Valtteri Bottas is still a safe pair of hands. So I'm not doubting the driver lineup. It's just the losing Fred Vasseur so late in the day, sort of, it's going to have a knock-on effect. I think, if I remember correctly, Ted Kravitz had Alpine at 7.
Right.
I think that's underrating them a bit, but okay.
Yeah, but he said in testing, like, their car was nowhere near the pace it needs to be, and the porpoising was bad. So, who's your number 6, Johnny?
McLaren.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's as high as I can rank them. They're going to be on the back foot from the start of the year, and they'll get better as the year goes on. Maybe.
But they're going to be chasing their tail.
They're going to be, yeah.
Longhorn?
My number 6 is Aston Martin.
Oh, he's betting against the table.
Yes, we've gone a little bit against the grain here because they look great in testing, but I'm still not super sure. It's right on race day. It's quite there yet, and I don't like Stroll. I just really don't think Stroll's going to be there to help them at all to carry this forward. If this makes sense, it's all going to come down to Fernando Alonso essentially. And as I've been saying, I've been waiting for his drop off. I don't know when it's going to happen, but
It won't happen overnight.
No.
But it will happen.
yeah. But I don't know. I'm not sure if everyone seems to be very, very high on the Aston Martin, and I can understand it. It seems very impressive, but I don't know. I just have a feeling it's maybe not quite as impressive as it looks when it comes to the race.
Or that they've played their hand too early in testing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've shown their hand and gone, this is what we've got.
Yeah.
And then everyone else has gone, oh, you've got a pair of 2s.
Yeah.
Look what we got.
Yeah. I guess I'm betting on that.
Yeah.
I'm betting on that.
Well, my number 6 is McLaren. I think, like you said, the driver pairing, I think they've got the best driver pairing up and down the grid.
Yeah.
I think the infrastructure of the team is great. Like their infrastructure of their team. Once that wind tunnel comes online, that thing, it'll fix all their aerodynamic problems. I think aerodynamically at the moment they're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think the aerodynamics are the worst or the biggest problem with that car.
I've got multiple problems, and that's what scares me with McLaren.
I think the biggest problem, and I'm going to cop some hate online for this one, is that they're running Mercedes engines.
I think it's a power unit.
I think the power unit, unlike Aston Martin, where they've got a deal similar to Haas with Ferrari, where they get as many parts as they can from Mercedes, McLaren are just buying the power unit, making their own gearbox and everything to go with it. I think that's the Mercedes power unit isn't the beast that everyone thinks it is. We noted that last year. It's not quite the...
Yeah, it's one of the worst power units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think McLaren are waiting for the wind tunnel to come online, and I think 2026, they're aiming for 2026. Get the wind tunnel online, get their aerodynamics sorted out, and then get back together with Honda,
Yeah.
a resurgent Honda, and have a works engine, and then they're in charge of their own destiny.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're waiting for.
And I think that, if they can hang on to Lando Norris and Piastri, because I think both of those drivers in testing look really good.
That's my worry with McLaren too. Is I feel like like you're saying, they're going to have this long term. They're going to be right in the long run, but can they hold on to two of the hottest young drivers in the short term if they don't put out a car that's anywhere near the top, which it feels like they're going to be doing? Because do you think Lando's going to hang around for that 2026?
No, well, my
He's committed to 24.
24.
24?
Yeah.
That's the year we get our wind tunnel.
So my great fear is that they'll lose Lando Norris to Mercedes. 'Cause
Lando came out and said he's not going anywhere for the next couple of years. He wants to be in the team when the wind tunnel comes online.
Yeah, he wants to be there.
And the
when
wind tunnel's not online until the end of this year?
No. I heard that the wind tunnel's going to be online by May this year.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good.
So the wind tunnel's going to be online this year.
Yeah, right.
Whereas the Aston Martin wind tunnel's not going to be ready until next year.
Maybe that's what I'm getting confused with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when that McLaren egg cracks, Lando Norris is going to be in there when it cracks, and that victory egg opens right up. Yeah. I think, McLaren still has a lot of market equity.
They do.
I've been waiting
You
for a
wanted to
way
use it?
to put that in there, and I finally got it in. So, but yeah, I think McLaren's just waiting for the winds of change to blow their way.
Yeah.
For a little bit of luck. That's all you need in motorsport is a little bit of luck.
Mm.
Or if you're Optimus Prime, a little bit of luck and a lot of energon. Right.
Number 5.
Number 5. Who you got, JB?
This is tight. Aston Martin.
Yeah, ooh, yeah.
Well, I think it will be a better car than the Alpine. It's not the better driver pairing.
Mm.
I think Ocon and Gasly are the better driver pairing than Alonso and Stroll, despite Alonso and Stroll having the stronger car. And that will be the difference.
Longhorn?
My 5 is Alfa Romeo.
Oh.
It's a long way up.
Yep. I don't know. There's something about him this year for me. I feel like I think John Guan Yu is going to be quite impressive. I think he's going to probably be one of the most improved drivers this year. Valtteri Bottas has always been a great driver. Now they've both had a year in the Alfa Romeo. I don't know. There's something about this car this year. I just feel like last year it was strong early. And I think reliability might have turned them down a bit because of having the Ferrari power unit. They must have had the same issues as Ferrari. If they fix that this year, I feel they've got a good driver pairing. And because of that, if they've got a car that's got the power they had early last year on top of reliability, I don't know. I can see them being around this in the mid-pack.
Yeah. My number 5 was Alpine. And I really debated this a lot. Like, I absolutely kind of agreed with Ted Kravitz about the car looks like just crap. It's not there.
I'm not sure if they're playing all their cards for me because
I think the porpoising, to fix the porpoising, they've got to do something. And I think that'll take away from aerodynamics.
but they didn't have that issue last year.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why they got to, like? What if they shifted to get it this year? Like
Yeah.
last year, they were one of the more. They were fast in a straight line, and they were reasonably. Like they were a consistent car with what you got until they had the water pump phase all the time. For me, it's like if all you got to do this year is fix that, and you should at least get 4th.
Yeah.
So what if they change to all of a sudden have porpoising issues? You kind of going, Jesus Christ, how are you going backwards? But it wouldn't surprise me.
Well,
But-
I mean, I think they adapted the Red Bull aerodynamic form,
Right.
and it's just not sort of keying in with what they got going on.
Fair enough, righto.
But I think Ted Kravitz had Alfa Romeo at 5.
My boy Ted.
So, yeah, your boy Ted. Who's your number 4, JB?
Alpine.
Alpine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good car. The good thing about upgrades is you can take them back off. I think they'll figure out whatever the porpoising is before we even get to Bahrain.
Yeah.
And if the water pump issue is fixed, then this is going to be a good car with a good driver pairing.
Oh, I mean, it's got a solid driver pairing.
Yeah.
I think Ocon, if there's an issue with Alpine, it'll be Ocon not being able to not crash into his teammate.
Yeah, it'll be him defending Gasly stupidly.
Yeah.
You know, and causing them to crash or something like that, you know.
And that's always been the weakness of Ocon, is that he just does
Super arrogant.
He really has to beat his teammate at all costs. He really is not a very good team player.
And he's going to struggle to do that with Gasly.
Yeah, Gasly's going to drive rings around him.
Yeah, I think Gasly's going to get the upper hand on him.
Who's your number 4?
Also Alpine. Same reasons Johnny's saying. I think they're going to be reasonably the same car as they were last year, which was the 4th fastest. They've still got a very good driver pairing. And yeah, I'm not sure if they're showing... Like, all the talk was the car wasn't good and it didn't look that great, but every time you talk to Gasly or people from Alpine, they were very happy. And it's making me think they're not showing all their cards, or they know what the issue is that's causing the porpoising, and it's going to be fine come Bahrain. Because they've got an upgrade coming.
Or they were just showing that to make everyone think a little bit of a...
Sandbagging, in a sense, you know. Look, we've got an issue, but in the back of the heads, we don't have an issue. We've just, done this, because they didn't have that issue last year. Yeah, they didn't have porpoising issue last year, So is it like, let's go out and make everyone feel like our car's not that great? But at the back of the head, they're like, we know our car is as good as last year, if not better. Yeah. So we're pretty happy with that. So
don't forget too, like their car is super light. They had to put ballast in it to bring it up to weight.
That's right.
But that ballast, they can move it to wherever they want in the car. So maybe just it's the ballast where they've got the ballast.
They put the ballast in a funny spot to make it bounce.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're like, oh, look, it's terrible. And then they get to Bahrain and
it'll be perfect.
It'll be 100%
they put
fine.
it in the right spot and they're fucking 4th on the grid.
Yeah.
My number 4, and oh god, I debated this one a lot. Like my 4 and 3, I debated so much.
It was tough. The real mid pack this year. It was real easy for me to do the bottom 3 and the top 3. That middle was like, I was like, oh my god, could have gone any way for me, just about.
Well, I put number 4 as Aston Martin.
Right.
I think they do have a quick car.
Yep.
I think that because they've got, I think the guy who's the technical director was like the number 2 guy behind Adrian Newey at Red Bull. So I think he's got something there. And because he doesn't have the previous technical director, Andrew Green's input on this year's car, he's got a bit more carte blanche, a bit more Cape Blanchett with it, and has gone with something that I think will work. The reason why I've put them 4th behind who I've got in 3rd place is Lance Stroll.
Driver,
I don't think he'll be able to deliver.
I don't think he will either.
Or consistently deliver. I think he'll deliver in dribs and drabs.
I honestly think they would be better off with Drugovich in their car than Stroll.
Yeah.
That's my honest opinion for this year.
Yeah.
I think Drugovich would drive better than Stroll this year. I know Stroll's put in some performances, but the guy's got over 100 races under his belt, and he just doesn't show to me he's got anything else than a decent performance once in 15 races.
He has dribs and drabs of goodness.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for me. It's not enough to
actually,
be in Formula 1 or to take a car to the next level.
I've just looked over and saw that bottle of honey I've got over there, and that's exactly what Lance Stroll is. You've got to tip him upside down and squeeze it to get something out of it. And it really ain't much coming out of it. A bottle of honey is the best way I can describe Lance Stroll.
A slightly empty bottle of honey.
Slightly empty.
I think Fernando Alonso is the better driver out of those two.
Oh, for sure.
And he'll show it.
Yeah.
And he'll show it, which is something Lance Stroll should really
But my question as well is Fernando smacks cars. Like, he if you've got a car with reliability issue, you do not want Fernando Alonso driving
No.
it because he is going to freaking push it to the metal. When I go, is that what he's going to do with the Aston Martin because it's quick? And because it's got all this stuff, he's going to push it to the metal and then bam, they're going to have
I
reliability.
think Fernando Alonso is going to start off well, but by the time he gets to the end of his contract, I think he's got a 2-year contract. By the time he gets to the end of his contract, he will have demoralised that team and just made it such a toxic place that they'll want to get rid of him.
I've got an interesting thing for Aston Martin. Say they've got a great car this year, and Fernando puts it in good spots and is doing the right thing, getting the points, and Stroll isn't. Do they ever think about changing Stroll for Drugovich? When do they get to a point where, because for as long as they've been mediocre, it's okay to have Stroll because Stroll's mediocre. But if you start actually giving the car to get to that point where you're competing for a world championship, and Stroll's not that kind of material,
That's exactly when
do
they'll
you
last
take
him.
him out?
That's exactly when they'll last him.
You think they will?
When the car overtakes Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Because right now, the last year and the year before, the car was on par with Lance Stroll.
Yes.
As soon as the car overtakes Lance Stroll, and it won't be long, that's when they'll make the call.
And they should. I think Drugovich should be in that car.
I have this sneaking suspicion, though, that Drugovich is going to replace Yuki Tsunoda.
AlphaTauri.
Yeah. I just... This gut feeling of Larry Stroll won't oust his son. Despite the fact that he's a businessman, he bought the team so that his son could have a seat in F1.
Yeah, and that's my point. That's my thing as well. Is like, it's going to be a bad look for Aston Martin if you've got a top car, top 3-4 car, but you just don't have a driver that should be in that car, and it becomes very apparent, but you stick to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's going to be not a great look for Aston Martin in my eyes.
All right, who's your number 3? JB?
Mercedes.
Yeah?
Yeah. They will take a step forward this year, but the two teams ahead of them will also take a step forward.
Yep.
Lewis and George are going to be a lot more comfortable, but Red Bull and Ferrari have got just as much more.
Yep. I've also got Mercedes, same reason. They'll take a step forward, but so the two teams ahead of them, so there's still that step back.
Yeah, I've got them at number 3, but I've got them only just pipping Aston Martin.
I
think they're sliding backwards. I don't think they've got the power unit. I think Lewis Hamilton is really starting to hit the decline of his career. And I think Toto Wolff has just really got to calm down with his whingy bullshit.
The problem is Aston Martin's got the same power unit, so
Yeah.
I mean, if Mercedes are going to be ahead,
And
if Mercedes are going to drop on power unit, then so's Aston Martin.
And I still think that Mercedes is aerodynamically compromised. I think there's still something aerodynamically wrong with that car.
I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. I think that car's taking a step forward.
Oh, it's taking a step forward, but it's taking a step forward from 2 spaces back. So it's only still a step behind everyone else. I just don't see them challenging the top 2. I think it's just they're going to be the head of the mid pack. They're just it's going to be like very much the first sort of 6 months or first 6 races of last year where they were just picking up the scraps and getting up the podium when something happened to someone else.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think
that's fair.
I think that car's a lot more settled than last year.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Okay.
And George and Lewis will show it.
I think George more than Lewis.
Lewis can still fight.
Well, he can't go wheel to wheel.
He's not. He can. He can. He's not going to win the championship, and the lead driver of the two will be George eventually.
Yeah.
But Lewis can still hold his own.
Okay. Who's your number 2?
Red Bull.
Oh! Someone's being bold.
Oh, that's bold.
I think Ferrari will win the Constructors' Championship, but Max Verstappen will win the Drivers' Championship.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
I think Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz will be more consistent than Sergio Perez, but Max will be the one winning the races.
Righto.
So I think you and I have both gone for Ferrari for number 2, haven't we?
Yes, we have, yeah.
Well, you give your reasons first.
I love it, by the way. I love it. But I think Ferrari's going to come on. It's the same with Mercedes for me. I think Ferrari's going to take a step ahead, but Red Bull's taken even another step forward, which he didn't think was possible. And I still think, as much as I don't rate Perez, I still think he's going to pick up enough points that as long as Verstappen is winning every race, which I can see happening like it did last year, I still think they'll pit Ferrari for that constructors. So that's why for me Ferrari's at 2.
So the advantages that I think Ferrari have got over Red Bull, first of all, is Uncle Fred coming into the team. I think he's going to clear up a lot of the crap. I think the strategy calls are going to be more precise because he's not going to tolerate wishy-washy, pull out your notepad and Mr. Squiggle up something on the spot.
It's got to be prepared for them.
Yeah. I think that power unit, while it may not be as potent as the RBR, I think that it'll still be able to compete on tracks where there's a lot more corners where it can get on the power and get out there faster. So I think that's something they've got. The two things that hold Ferrari back this year's Ferrari, if Charles Leclerc can calm the fuck down and not perform a bottle job, he's got to knock off the I'm leading by miles, oh no, I put it in the wall crap. He really has to knock that off. And they're going to have to work around their tyre deg. Tyre deg, we joked about it earlier, but the line from Days of Thunder, tyres win races. That is so true.
Yeah.
Tyres win races. And Ferrari have got to figure out a way around the tyre deg.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that car is set up to not, I think in qualifying trim, that thing is going to be a weapon.
Yeah, it was last year.
It was. On long runs, they've got to maximise the mediums. Maximise the mediums and only use the hards if necessary.
And that is the only place Sergio Perez has an advantage over Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, is he can make tyres fucking last.
Yep.
He did 50 laps on the hards, twice last year.
Yeah.
He knows how to make tyres last, and that is the advantage he's got over both Ferraris.
Yeah.
But I still think Ferrari overall, both those drivers, will be better than Sergio. And I think for that fact, they'll win the Constructors.
Mm-hmm.
But Max Verstappen will win the Drivers' Championship. You're going to see a lot of Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc podiums.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah. So I take it your number one is Ferrari.
Yes.
Go nuts.
I think the power unit of the Ferrari will be as good as the Red Bull powertrain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they, as a pairing, my number one driver pairing of the year, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, will show more consistency than Sergio Perez, and the Ferrari will inherently be better than the Mercedes. So I don't see George Russell or Lewis Hamilton challenging too much. Maybe they'll challenge Carlos.
But then, do you see them challenging Perez, the Mercedes?
Possibly.
Do you think Perez is going to be comfortable in fourth, or do you think he's going to be battling with Mercedes and the Ferraris are going to be ahead of them?
Yeah, well, he's probably going to have to be fighting off the Mercedes while the two Ferraris are ahead of him. I think he's going to be in that no man's land.
Yeah.
But Max will win the majority of the races and the championship. But Charles Leclerc, an improved Charles Leclerc, and an improved Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari that they've both said is better than last year's. And that car was, they started from the front of the grid a hell of a lot more than anyone else. So
yep.
I think that car will win the Constructors for Ferrari.
So clearly we've both gone RB Red Bull Racing.
We have old RBR.
Yeah, I'll let you go, Longhorn.
I just think they were a dominant car over the stretch of the season last year. Their car seems to have everything, and they've got a driver that's got everything. I think that's only going to continue. It's only going to be better. They had the most points ever last year. I just don't see that. I don't know if they'll have as dominant as a year. I think maybe some of the teams might steal some points, like Ferrari might steal some points from them. I just don't think it's enough to take away the titles from them. But I do think that Perez will have a down enough year that they may consider changing drivers, because I think it will be close. It won't be a blowaway like last year. And I think they might realise that we need a more dominant number 2. The tail gunner might not do it for any of because I think Ferrari's going to close that gap where they're going to feel going into the year after they need a stronger second driver to compete with the 2 Ferraris. Because I do agree with Johnny in the fact that I think the 2 Ferraris will be better than Perez consistently, but I don't think it's going to be enough, because there'll still be races that they'll drop out and Perez will be there to pick up the points when needed. So I still think overall that's enough for Red Bull to win it. I think it will be closer, and I think they may consider a driver change at the end of the year because they will need that more dominant driver. But yeah, they were dominant, and I just don't see that changing.
I also think they'll make the driver change because they just forked up a whole bunch of cash to get Daniel Ricciardo as their reserve driver.
Yeah. That's what I can see happening.
But my thoughts on the Red Bull is the Ferrari will lose it because of the tyre dag, but that's where an advantage for Red Bull is. I think aerodynamically the car is better than the Ferrari. Like Adrian Newey is a Mr. Wizard.
He's a genius. Yeah,
he really is. I think it'll be a tighter battle with Ferrari though.
Yes.
Where Red Bull can lose it more than what they've got and what advantages they got. Where they can lose it is Perez dropping off the good run that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
And I still question that Red Bull power unit reliability. I think it's going to go pop a few times this year.
For me, as well, that gives Red Bull that pip is that championship mentality and that championship quality they had last year. Like, they got everything right strategy-wise. They got everything right. When they need to get things right, they are just a quality unit all around. They get it right. Well, and I think that's what's going to help them this year.
So, sorry to interrupt you. Something that Drive to Survive sort of highlighted for me was, like, it was very 50-50 about the Red Bull strategy. Like, I mean, JB, jump in any time if you want to interject with this, all right? I think 50% of the time, Red Bull got the strategy right. But I also think that 50% of the time, it wasn't that Red Bull got the strategy right. It was that Ferrari got the strategy wrong. I think Ferrari performed their own bottle job.
Ferrari lost as many races for themselves as Red Bull won as many races for themselves in the pit lane.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think that Fred Vasseur is going to be the difference maker in Ferrari this year. With the strategy calls, it's going to be a lot tighter because we're not going to have knuckle-headed strategy calls. He's not going to tolerate that shit. And that will mean that Ferrari, in terms of a championship, is going to be more in the fight, and it's not going to be an insane blowout because they're going to be in the fight.
They're going to be up for the fight on all fronts. Yeah.
But the tyre dag is my big worry with that Ferrari. Because Fred Vasseur is adamant. Our engine is bulletproof. It is bulletproof. And I keep thinking that Red Bull bugbears are going to start creeping in.
Can definitely happen.
It can happen. Anything can happen in F1, and it usually does. As a great man once said,
absolutely.
Miss the old Murray Walker.
Good man.
He also used to sit there and say, if is a pretty big word in F1, it's actually F1 spelled backwards. No, it isn't.
I mean, it's not, but good try, Murray.
Thanks, Murray. Thank you. But look, I've got Red Bull winning the championship as a constructor, but it's going to be a hell of a fight.
It's going to be a good year, I feel. A really good... I feel like it's going to be a lot tighter. I'm not sure if we're going to see, like, blowaways of, Williams bloody come in the top 5 or 6 or something. But
That'd be
Williams
great,
dominating the championship. That would be cool.
oh, it'd be amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't know if we're going to see
Albon
that.
as world champion. Like, where did that come from?
Williams a bit sandbagging. Like, they just go and put it on pole by 6/10. It's like, oh, yeah.
That's something about testing I didn't say about Red Bull. I think Red Bull have shown their hand. I think Red Bull, by sitting there on the final day, turning the wick up and going, look, we can set a 1:30 as the fastest time.
Is everything they've got.
I think that's them going, look at what we got. Nah. Ferrari sitting there going, we haven't opened up the taps, kids.
Well, you hope so, because otherwise because they did. At least if they've opened it up and showed their hand, they are the quickest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if there is another team that hasn't completely shown their hand, we'll find out on the weekend.
Yeah, but the second quickest driver was Lewis Hamilton, and he was 0.3 off. So does that mean... Did Red Bull turn the wick up? Did Mercedes turn the wick up? Did Mercedes
I think they
back?
both did. I think they both did to try and send a message like, oh, look, we've got something, woohoo.
We'll find out on Saturday night, man.
And Ferrari's just sitting there going, yep, you could do whatever you want. We're going to play the long game. But,
We'll see.
my God, this is setting up for something good.
Yeah, this is going to be a good year.
This is going to be good.
Not for McLaren or for Williams.
No.
But it's going to be exciting for the front of the field.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting for me. Yay!
Yes.
No more bad strategy calls. Yay!
Yeah, let's not count the chickens before they hatch.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've got faith in Uncle Fred. I think it's Uncle Fred.
You got more faith in him than I do in that McLaren car, but we'll see what happens.
I'm interested. What's your thought? How do you think Piastri's going to go, JB?
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. He won't get. They won't. Neither of them are going to get to show their hand for a while.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think the first upgrade's coming till. God, was like round 5.
Yeah, it's a while.
Yeah, it's like past Melbourne, past. I think it's like back.
Well, there's almost a month gap between Melbourne and Baku.
Yeah, well, I think that's where they're aiming the upgrades.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a slow start. It's going to be like last year when we finished, I think we were 14th and 15th in Bahrain last year. I'm not expecting much more.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a dumb question, though. Do you think Piastri will do better than what Ricciardo has done the last 2 years? Or at least last year?
I think the jury's out on that. It depends on how
The
it
car.
goes with the car.
I guess the question you're saying is Piastri going to be comparable to Lando Norris?
He will be in time. I think he has more of a potential to be comparable with Lando in time.
But you're not
Daniel did.
expecting it, say,
Not
early this
straight
year
out.
or this year at all?
I'd love to see them line astern all year.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Right.
Jury's out.
And-
Let's see. The first race is this weekend. We don't have to wait long.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I just want to talk about very quickly about a news item that I sort of read. So, during the break, how Andretti announced that they've got Cadillac.
Yes.
Yeah, General Motors Cadillac. Well, apparently General Motors, they are interested in being an engine supplier in 2026.
Yep.
Even if Andretti doesn't make it on the grid.
Did you see the teams want to up Andretti's entry fee from $200 million to $600 million?
What?
Yeah, legit.
To $600 million.
Yeah, just to get them on the grid.
Triple.
Well, they
What's their?
I don't know what their basis is. They're just being arseholes,
I think it's because they sat there and ran their mouth and said, "Oh, we're going to get on the grid and blah blah blah," and they weren't anyway modest or humble about it. They're like, "Yeah, we're going to be on the grid in 2026." Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they want them to pay triple that anyone else pays to get on the grid, and I don't understand the reason why.
No, that's
I'm hoping it's just a rumor, but
that
I did
seems
read it
very
somewhere.
Toto Wolff.
Yeah.
That seems very Toto Wolff petty.
It's very petty.
Petty and pathetic.
The grid needs to expand, whether
Yeah,
they
now's the
like it or
time.
not, and they're just going to have to bite the bullet and just... There's going to be Audi and there's going to be Andretti on the grid at some point. So.
Now is the time to expand Formula One. Like I said, it's hot. With Netflix's Drive to Survive, you've got so many new fans tuning in.
Yeah.
Now is the time to throw a new team in to gain some support while you've got Drive to Survive. I mean, at the end of the day, what have we got? One more season? Is that all they're going to do?
Yeah.
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 So by the time that comes in, they're not even going to have that. But if they don't do that sooner rather than later, you could lose the momentum of newer viewership
Yeah.
to jump on
absolutely.
board these new teams.
I
you know?
reckon they're going to do more seasons of Drive to Survive.
It is a smash hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I tried watching Drive to Survive last night after I finished my gig, and because I had my VPN on, it wouldn't let me get to season 5. But they kept showing me this promo video of a similar series called Breaking Point, and it was about tennis. It was
Right.
like Drives to Survive with tennis, and the whole promo thing was people talking about Nick Kyrgios.
Because he's an asshole.
He's the biggest drummer in the sport, yeah.
Yeah, and like they even had John McEnroe sitting there going, you know, he's actually one of the best tennis players I've seen in 10 years. Yeah, but they showed the promo for that, and apparently this year there's going to be an IndyCar version of Drive to Survive.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, it's got so many spin-offs now. Like, what it's
Yeah.
created.
It's created that formula for every sport on
Yeah,
the
but
planet,
They
essentially.
haven't done one on the most important sport besides F1,
European truck racing.
curling.
Darts.
They got to do one.
Darts would
Yes.
be wicked, would it not?
Yes,
It's just
Do
a bunch
one
of it's just a bunch of British guys sitting at the pub getting tanked.
Tank to survive. That's what they could call it.
drink to survive. Just downing pints of lager and then going out and throwing darts at the
Perfect
board.
180s, yeah.
180.
There's only one Phil Taylor. that was a great night.
That was a fun night.
Darts
I wish
up
they'd
there.
bring that back.
Yeah, darts was up there, one of the best things I've ever
Oh,
seen live.
I think it was either my girlfriend or the managing director of my work, and I was telling her about how I went to the darts a few years ago. It wasn't my girlfriend. It was my boss, Lynn, and she was just like, "That doesn't look fun at all."
It's the
I'm like,
best night I've ever
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
So
I'm
good.
like, they filmed it and everything. Like we were on Fox Sports.
Yeah.
And you go in and they give you the placard with 180 written on it, and if someone hits 180, you hear that guy with the graveliest voice
Best
ever.
voice ever for announcing it.
They
Yeah.
go 180,
And everyone goes wild.
And you hold your side up. And it's just such a fun night.
Yeah.
And and she was just sitting there going, "Heck, no, I don't think it would have been that fun." I'm like, you don't judge it until you watch it.
Sounds
You know?
like you don't like fun.
No. This is also the same lady who sits there and whenever I request heavy metal songs like Judas Priest or anything on the request show on 4CRM, she sits there and goes, "How can you listen to this rubbish?" And then she puts on Keith Urban.
Oof.
Oh, what is wrong with you? Right. So
Sounds
now
like she'd get along with Lance Stroll.
and his fiberglass eyebrows.
I don't like fun.
It sounds more like Mazepin.
Yeah, this is just a job to me.
Prefer June buggies in Moscow. Well, you're driving one now in Ukraine, aren't you? You fucking dopehead.
He keeps talking about how he wants to sue Haas. For what?
He's driving in the Asian LMP1 series at the moment.
Right.
Is Nikita. I think he actually won a race the other day.
Yeah,
Holy
righto.
shit.
Look out.
Yeah, holy fuck.
Jesus. Well, it's because everyone else quit out of fear.
Yeah, I believe
Dad
so.
would shoot them with an AK-47.
I believe so.
Jesus. Right. So, we're getting to the social media stuff now. You can watch this video on YouTube, care of Vindicator 18 channel, but we are going to have a dedicated F1 chat channel.
Yes, we need to get
At some
that
point.
started up. I'll start one up this week.
Yeah.
And we'll get that done up.
Yeah.
But for now, Vindicator 18.
You can talk to us on Facebook at the F1 chat.
Yes.
You can converse with I think it's JB who does the Twitter
Sure is.
on the F1 chat 1.
Don't forget the one.
Don't forget the 1. You can watch this video on Rumble
Yes.
at the F1 chat,
Rumble, young man, rumble.
and
us.
we are on the Spotify at the F1 chat. So that's
That's us.
yeah. So the next episode is going to be next week.
Yes, straight into it.
Straight into it
The
because we got
Bahrain Grand Prix.
we got the Bahrain F1 this weekend. First
Looking
race
forward
of the year.
to it.
Yeah,
First race of the
yeah,
year. Let's
we're back
go.
into it, boys. We're back.
We're well back into it.
We're back. We're bad. You're black. I'm mad. Right. So, thank you for tuning in this week. I actually wanted this to be a really short episode, but it clearly has not.
Here we are, nudging 2 hours, I think.
Yep. But thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next week for the Bahrain F1. Until then, it is goodbye.